So this template has been set up really to be a one kind of mobile solution that you can use to get out all of your internal news, let all of your staff or employees know about what events are going on, and you can also use it to just send out really important updates. Maybe it's relating to a specific office, maybe it's relating to something kind of topical that's happening at the moment. Um, what this template all really does, it's helping you encourage employee advocacy and engagement. And what we're going to do in a second is jump into the studio and actually look at the app and the various features that it includes, but specifically the ones that we're going to take a look at today. And so this just has a whole load of list of features. This is all of the features that the template consists of. We're not going to have time to look at everything today, but you can see that the main features are kind of highlighted. So we'll be specifically looking at things like a newsfeed, how's that set up, how does that work, colleague directory. We've got various kind of discussion topics where you can give colleagues recognition, you can enable knowledge sharing. This is all about kind of employee advocacy. There's also various sections in the app where you can upload marketing materials, list all of your upcoming events, chats, and so on. But instead of just listing them here, I think it'd be better if we just kind of move across into the Fliplet Studio to actually take a look at this. So just bear with me a second, and I'm gonna switch my screen sharing. And here we go. And again, guys, just remember, if you do have any questions, you can always ask them during the chat. And after we've kind of gone through some of the main features, we'll be looking at all of your questions and see if there's anything specific that you want to know. So now when we're looking at the template, the first thing you'll see when you get in here is just we have a bit of an onboarding. This works as a nice kind of tutorial and welcome screen for users when they're first getting into the app. Once they've kind of swiped through this, they'll get asked to log in. Now, the login is there just to kind of enable you certain features of the app. So, for example, whenever the app has anything like commenting, which requires you to kind of the app to know who you are, so you can print out your name and maybe picture even, so that we know who's commented on what. We would need to have any kind of login. Similarly, the app has specific features that are only available for certain types of users. So for example, admins of the app will be able to do certain things that a standard user wouldn't. For that to be enabled, we would need to have a login so that users know and the app know who is who. But now if we just move across and look at our kind of home screen, so this is the first real screen that the users would see when they open up the app. It's got kind of a grid layout, just highlighting kind of the main features. So we've got kind of the features that we think are most important are at the top, and then you can scroll down to see the rest. If we just quickly go into the newsfeed, which is one of the main features, this consists of a feed of various news items. You can see you've got a title, got more contents here, so the kind of body of the news item, you've got a date and a category. If I tap to open, I can also kind of read the whole section. This newsfeed is also kind of enabled with certain social features, so I can like news items, I can bookmark, and I can also comment on this. The way that this newsfeed works is it's also searchable, so I can search on any of the text. I can filter on the various categories that I have, and it will automatically kind of filter down and narrow down my list. Now this newsfeed is set up so that those that are admins of the app, they will actually be able to add in news items directly using the app. So if I click on this plus button here, it will take me to a screen that lets me add a new news item. So I can add in a title, I can paste in the content of my article, attach a nice image, assign what category it is, and when I click save, it will automatically be added into our actual kind of live newsfeed. And this just means that if you're managing this kind of data set of articles, you can do this wherever you are. If you're kind of on your feet and you know, kind of running around, maybe you're in between events, let's say your team has just won this award, you could actually post this news article directly from whatever event you're in, just meaning that, you know, you have the capability of kind of making this very interactive and making this very live. So that's the kind of newsfeed section. If we just look into the menu, because we can go in here as well to kind of navigate our way through the app, we can then look at our kind of contact directory, which is just a list of the various people in your company. The way that this works is prints out whatever information that you've selected that you want to show for the people. I can also tap to see more information. So you can see we've got a profile picture, we've got name, title, location, and then we've got a couple of action buttons that are kind of quick actions. So I can tap to email someone, I can tap to start calling someone, or I can tap to open the LinkedIn profiles. And then we've got a couple of other bits of information here. And this is all kind of meant to be easy replaceable for you guys. So if you have other kinds of data that you want to present for your colleague directory, it's very, very easy to come in here and kind of customize it and change this around. If the location, for example, isn't relevant for you because you only have one office, then you can easily kind of take that away and maybe replace it with another piece of data that you find more useful. In the people directory as well, one of the really great features is that you can enable people to update their own profiles directly from the app. So you can see I've got a little kind of me button here. If I can click on this, I can see my own profile. I can click on edit. And as you can see, I didn't see edit on the other profile. So this is something that I can only do on my own profile. And I can come in here and actually update my own information. Now, this could be great if you don't want to necessarily be in charge. Let's say HR doesn't want to be in charge of updating everybody's bios. Maybe I want to do this on my own. This is where this feature comes really in handy. And so if we quickly move on, one of the kind of main features that are kind of circling around this employee advocacy that I've been talking about is what we call our kind of discussion screens. And so we've built up as examples 3 different types of discussion screens with kind of various settings and various options around who can add to kind of what screen. Um, the way that it works, if we look first on the kind of general form that we've set up, the way that this works is anyone can contribute to this feed of discussion items. Basically, anyone, every app user will be able to see this plus. They can click on it, and it just means that they can add in a new topic for discussion. Each topic of discussion has a title. It can have more information. If we tap to open, you will see who's posted this. So you can see this is actually me posting this, which also means I can edit and I can delete my item. It's got a category, it's got a date, and then people will be able to comment on this, and that's really where the discussion can keep going. So this forum is meant to be kind of a general chatting, a general discussion. We've also, as examples, built out another 2 discussions that are more specific around certain topics. So we've got our colleague recognition, sorry, which is all about allowing staff to give recognition to other staff members. So when I click on the plus, which again, everyone will have availability to do this, they will be able to let the app know who they want to recognize. They can give a reason. They can assign a category if it's something specific like teamwork, maybe that they've been very good at. And then again, it's just something that is visible for the whole company. It's something that everybody can then kind of celebrate by liking. You can comment on it and just kind of again reinforce this recognition. The third option for kind of the discussions is what we call knowledge sharing, and it's all about just sharing relevant resources that you think other people might benefit from learning about. So you can share anything. So this is, for example, a podcast, and I think this is a book or something. And then again, you can tap to open and see more information. You can comment to keep kind of a discussion going. You can also like, and you can bookmark things. So let's say I think this sounds really interesting. I want to come back to this podcast. Then if I click to filter and only see my bookmark items, it would be really quick and easy for me to kind of come back and find this at a later point. And so that's the general discussion features. If we then move on and look at our upcoming events, then the way that this works is it will show you all of the events that you've kind of loaded in that are upcoming. It will give you a title, a date. You can kind of say what type of event it is, and then again, if I tap to open, it will see more information. Maybe I want to email the event organizer. Maybe I want to call them. Maybe I want to look up on the map where this event is hosted. Whatever kind of event information you would find relevant, you would be able to display it in here. It also has a search and it has a filter capability. So again, if you had a really long list of events coming up, it would be quite easy for users to go in and take a look and find the event that they're looking for. If I know that's something I want to attend, I can also obviously bookmark it, just like we've seen on the other screens. This screen specifically is set up so that only users of the app that are admins can see this plus sign and will then be able to add to this list. So in comparison to kind of the discussion screens where everybody could add, this screen is a bit stricter in kind of in the settings, but it works the same way. Um, and the way that it actually works is there's a setting in the kind of user what we call data source, where we've kind of set up and we've labeled that some users are admins and some are not. And so if you are labeled with this, then you will be able to see this plus sign and add new events. You'll also be able to see these edit and delete options where standard users wouldn't have this. And finally, there's just one more thing I wanted to show you before we're finished up, and it's just our example of an employee survey. So an employee survey is kind of like a poll survey if you have experience with that. So it's just a way to basically capture information and data from your users around kind of how they're finding work, how happy they are at work, and so on. What we've really done with this is try to show you various types of data that you can get from the app. So you can have kind of a star rate system, 1 to 5. You can have kind of yes and no questions. You can have free text boxes. We've got multiple options, or kind of one selection, and so on. And then the really powerful thing with this kind of form and data capture is that all of the data will be stored at a whole in the Fliplet Studio, but you can also get sent an email notification whenever this form is submitted, so that you're aware kind of who's been submitting this data and how they're doing. And I think that's all we have time for today. There's for this specific template. There's quite a few other screens in here, as you can see, but I think I've just kind of gone through and highlighted the most kind of common and the most popular ones. So I think at this point we'll open it up to questions if anyone have any.
Again, everyone, please type in chat if you have questions, but I'll get us started. So one of the most common questions I think we get, Joe, is can I integrate this with another software? Or maybe, I have my newsfeed that I set up on my website. I don't want to have to maintain that in two places. How do I link the website in the app?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's very common specifically with things like news feeds, and it's also very common around things like colleague directories. A lot of companies obviously have all of this data kind of hosted somewhere else on their own systems, and we have created a really kind of easy way for you guys to integrate with your own systems. We call it our data integration service. um, we're more than happy to kind of help you guys whenever you kind of getting into a bit more kind of technical things like integrations. Please reach out to us at the customer success team and we're happy to help you. We also have documentation around specifically how the kind of technicalities of the data integration service works. You can find that at our developer site, where we keep all of our kind of developer documentation. So that would be at developers.fliplet.com.
Okay, great. And then another one I get asked a lot is what's the difference between get in touch and the survey screen within the app?
Yeah, so the get in touch screen. So we didn't really have time to go through this, but the get in touch screen, it's you will recognize this quite a lot from the survey screen, but it's got basically a data capture form where users can put in their name and email addresses. Now, the way that this works is if you have the name and email address already in the app, and if a user is logged in, this can be automatically filled in so they don't have to do that themselves. But then what it does, it lets the user send you an inquiry. So this could be, support regarding the app in general. Maybe they have feedback about the app. and they can also write type a message here for you. Now the main difference is really kind of the purpose of these screens, because the forms look very similar and you can actually include the same fields here if you wanted to. Now the purpose is just different. So this screen is really here for allowing app users to get in touch with you if they have any questions specifically about the app. You know, maybe something isn't working for them, or maybe they have questions, maybe they have suggestions on how to improve the app. Then just as I kind of was explaining with the survey, you know, the way that you would set this up is that you would um, set the form up so that it will send an email to you whenever the form is submitted. But most likely this would go to a different team that manages app support, and the employee survey would probably go to a different team that's more kind of in charge of looking at employee health and that kind of thing. So maybe even the HR team.
Okay, great. And then, yeah, just one more question. On the some of the discussion screens, you mentioned that anyone, any user can kind of add information. Is there a way to control or restrict that?
Yeah, another really good question, and I can actually quickly show this because I think the best way to really demonstrate this is quickly go into the settings, because there's a few different things that we can do here. So if I just quickly open this, and so whenever you're editing anything in the studio, generally just click on it, it will open the settings on the right hand side. If I then scroll down, each of these lists that are making up the three discussion screens, they have different settings that's called entry management. So entry management just means like who will be able to add or edit any of the entries in the data that's kind of backing this up. And so when it gets to actually adding new items, you have two options. One of them is everyone can add new entries to this list, or it's only admins that can add to this list. So there's two different options there. Now for editing, you actually have another few options. So you have an option to allow, again, let everyone edit everything. Or you can let users only edit their own items. So if I've posted the podcast recommendation, I can edit this, but you can't. Or we've got a section here saying like if I'm an admin, I can edit any of these items, but only if I'm an admin. Um, or the last option is kind of a combination of the last two. So it's users can edit their own, but so can admins. So if you're an app admin, you can edit everything, and sometimes that's quite popular because admins want to be able to kind of control the content in case there's anything sensitive going on there that shouldn't be in there or anything like that. That might be when you're using this option.